The NHL's offseason has been here a while now, but where's next year's schedule and why are they planning on a repeat of the decentralized draft? We're going to answer those questions and talk some summer hockey. All that and more on today's Locked On NHL podcast.
You're Locked On NHL, your daily podcast on the National Hockey League. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Friday, everyone, and thanks for making Locked On NHL your first listen every day. I am Rachel Donner from Locked On Flyers. I'm here each and every Friday with Gil Martin of Locked On Islanders. You can find us over on YouTube or anywhere you listen to podcasts. Subscribe to get our latest episode as soon as it's available here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. How are we doing today, Gil?
We are doing okay. It's getting to be that time where the hockey world slows down a little bit, and it's been a heck of a march. The last 6 weeks, 8 weeks, it's been like a sprint. So now maybe everybody catches their breath just a little bit.
Just a little bit, because according to Elliot Friedman, there is a vote happening to decide whether or not to run it back when it comes to the decentralized draft that we just experienced, feels like a year ago now, but it was only a little over a week at this point. But that being said, according to Elliot Friedman, it appears though the vote is going to be in favor of repeating the decentralized draft, which I gotta say, I'm surprised, but I'm also not surprised. You know what I mean?
That's what the NHL does, right? I mean,
right.
Unfortunately, the NHL is known for not making the best decisions when it comes to marketing the game and promoting it and making things good for as many people as they can. And so at least we could say they're consistent.
That is certain. And it's just like, come on, like, read the room, y'all. Like, what are we doing here? It feels like, from a fan perspective, and anybody out there can correct me if I'm wrong, but it just felt like that first night dragged on forever.
Yes.
So whatever they do, if it's going to be decentralized, they have to figure out a way to move it along a lot faster and stick to the clock, because that was a huge issue, right?
They were so slow on that clock. And then the frustrating thing is, so there were 3 minutes in between picks, and if a trade happened, they got another 3 minutes. Like, give them a minute maybe, but like, if you're making the trade, you should know what you're trading for. Like, this isn't another 3 minutes,
I know. And it just, everything was so awkward. Like, the photos were awkward. The interviews were awkward. The players seemed uncomfortable. They didn't get the big family picture with the team and the executives and all of that. Like, it just, like, there was so much to me that was missing from the draft this year. And I just, like, I'm struggling to find an upside to it. Like, help me out here, Gil. Like, what are we doing?
And here's what you omitted from your analysis when you said, come on, read the room. They did read the room of 32 owners who don't want to spend the money to have a unified draft in one location. That's the room they read. That's who Gary Bettman works for. He doesn't work for you and me and the fans. He works for 32 owners who decided that they would rather save a couple of bucks and have another decentralized draft, even though it just felt like something was missing throughout the entire procedure.
Yeah, I think, to me, it didn't seem like they would have saved money based on what we saw. It seems like it would have been more expensive because there's more technology involved.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just travel budgets, right?
Well,
is that what we're talking about?
That's airplanes, hotels, food. I mean, you add that up for how many people is each team sending.
So now the economies of the cities that they're having the draft in. Is that what we're saying?
Yeah. I mean, having everybody in what, first of all, let's start with the simple stuff. Having all the general managers and coaches and front office staffs in one place helps trades happen. It helps move things along. I attended a draft back in Newark. I think it was about 2016. It was in Newark, 15, something like that. It was a wonderful experience because the whole hockey world was there. I met Willie O'Ree. I was able to speak to all the different draft picks in one place and the general managers and everything that I needed to do as a journalist, or if I wanted to see it as a fan, it was all there. And it just, having it on Zoom, it's better than like, okay, if we had another, God forbid, pandemic and we needed to do it, okay, I get it, but it's not the real thing.
No, it's not. And I guess, struggling to find the upside. I suppose if you're a team and you want to have a war room to make sure you're tracking your board properly and you can have like those conversations, having them in a quiet, private place, like I get that to some degree,
Yes.
where it's just easier to have those internal conversations without having to hide what you're saying to other teams. Hide your computer screens. You can put a big board up on the wall and nobody needs to see that.
That's what Zoom is for, though. You have those
right, exactly.
back at your team offices and you hook up with them on Zoom and problem solved, right?
I guess so. Like you could put some of those people remotely and have your workroom and have all of that remotely, but still have your main representatives represented in person. And I liked seeing all the tables, and I liked seeing people running around, and you could see GM talking to GM in person and maybe get an inkling that a trade was about to go down. Like it was so uncomfortable. Like this draft was just uncomfortable at best.
Something was missing. Something was just lacking in the overall presentation and feel of the event. Now, look, do I believe that they could find a way to quicken things along the second year they do it? Yeah, I think they could trim a half an hour off of the runtime of the first round just by, hey, we did this once. This is what we need to do to streamline it a little bit. But not having everyone all together in the same place is just kind of hollow.
Yeah, I think so too. And it just was very clear to the vast majority of the fans' reactions that I observed, to the fan reactions of Locked On Flyers in our comments on YouTube. I don't know about the Islanders fans, especially with the Islanders having the first overall pick. What were the Islanders fan reaction to it?
Well, see, the Islander fans, a lot of them were at the draft party, which was at the UBS Arena. And, the general manager could speak from the,
there's something to that.
Connect the fans.
Right.
But again, it's remote. I mean, we had a great moment. Okay, here's the one thing, and it was, didn't the Anaheim Ducks first round pick go down to Disneyland and do a remote broadcast from there like a half hour after being selected, or an hour? Like, that was a nice little touch. But there were 30.
Sure, they could have done that anyway because they're just down the road.
Correct. But there are, that only works for one or two teams, right? You can't do that otherwise. So I don't know. It to me, it just was less than ideal. And why not? Like, I get it if there's an emergency and you can't do it, but do it if you can. It's better. It's just better to have everyone in one place.
I agree wholeheartedly. And I know it's apparently not going to happen, but man, they better have a plan for improvement. And Gary Bettman's probably got senioritis in terms of him being on the way out as commissioner. So I don't know how involved he'll be if this is going to be like a Bill Daly show next time around, or what's going to happen there. But Man, they got to make some changes in order to make it work. That's all I got to say. But I am very disappointed, and I am also disappointed in the lack of an NHL schedule. I'm sitting here. It's July 11th, and nothing. We are in the dog days of summer, and we don't know what the games look like for next year. We're going to talk about that issue coming up next.
Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Have you ever decided at the last minute to head to a ball game with friends or family? Maybe it's game day and you suddenly realize you want to be in the stands. That's exactly where Game Time comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last-minute tickets without the stress. With the money you save on tickets, you could splurge on food, drinks, merch, or even invite a bigger group to come with you. Game Time makes it all possible. Game Time makes buying tickets fast and simple. Prices on the app actually drop the closer you get to first pitch, and they've got incredible last-minute deals, clear seat views, and a lowest price guarantee that takes the worry out of buying. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Just download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. The last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
So now that we've gotten it out of our system about the draft, we're going to continue the airing of the grievances. I feel like this is Festivus,
Yes.
summer edition or something here. But
I got the poll over there. It's off camera,
yeah.
though.
Okay. So last year we got the 2024-25 schedule on July 2nd. Again, it is July 11th. Still no NHL schedule. We just got the AHL schedule, and to get that before the NHL schedule, it's very disappointing. And supposedly we're getting it next Wednesday, July 16th, according to several reports out there. Don't have confirmation of that for sure. But that being said, that is 2 whole weeks later, cutting into the summer. And that is also ineffective, I think, from a league perspective and from a marketing perspective, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, if you're a season ticket holder, you want to start planning out your schedule and what games am I going to? What games do I want to try to give away or sell or whatever?
Yep.
You need to make flight arrangements. You need to make hotel reservations if you're going to road games. All of these things need to be figured out by the people who are paying your bills, NHL. And look, maybe the finalizing the Olympic situation is one of the reasons for this delay. But didn't you have a schedule ready to go? I mean, and maybe you had to make a couple of tweaks here and there, but once the details were worked out, I couldn't imagine taking more than 48 hours to figure out whatever tweaks you needed to make and just get this thing out there.
Right. That's what I don't understand is why wasn't it mostly ready?
Right.
And I think, that's your first point about season ticket holders. That's the main thing for me is that season ticket holders need that flexibility. They need time to be able to distribute their tickets, to be able to put them up for sale if they want to be able to make those decisions. And it makes it harder for them. On the team side of things, they can't market the schedule. They can't market the promotions that they have around the schedule. We have a date for the season to start, but we don't even have first games out there yet.
No.
Which they usually even put that out a little bit early, that everybody knows what their home opener is.
Right.
Ahead of the schedule.
We may see earlier in the week. We don't know that yet, but
sure. Yeah. Maybe. Yeah. But we don't even know that yet for sure. And maybe the teams do know those schedules behind the scenes and they're able to plan their content, but we don't know that for sure. But I think the other big issues here is that the league, by delaying the schedule, is missing out on the advantage of the momentum from the draft and free agency. That there's a lot of buzz around hockey, around the draft. There's a lot of buzz in free agency with all the big new contracts and, you know, the Mitch Marner contract and all of that stuff that went down. Now, like, when can Vegas see him play? When can Vegas fans see him play? They would like to know that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And then maybe opposing fans want to know, when is Vegas coming to my city? So,
or Toronto fans want to know when their
right.
their one game against Vegas at home
that's
is,
correct.
right?
That's correct. Or maybe they have to sneak over to Buffalo for another game. But yeah,
No, that's true.
but or you know, or to Ottawa. But bottom line is, you want to start to make those plans. And look, it also hurts the teams because they need to market the ticket plans, the promotion dates, as you mentioned, and then even just like, you have your partial plans, you have the you know, the division rivalry plan where you get 7 games, one against each team in your division. Like, they have all these packages that they put together to try to entice fans. You're losing valuable time with regard to that as well. So, you know, is it the biggest tragedy in the world? No, but is it not smooth marketing and you know, the best way to do business by the NHL? Yeah, it's not the best.
Yeah, listen, given the overlap, at least in my hockey circles, between hockey fans and F1 fans, we're all moved on to Christian Horner getting fired by Red Bull. Like, it, you know, hockey is kind of taken a back seat here. And that's the lack of, you know, taking advantage of when striking when the iron is hot, so to speak.
Yep.
And the other side of it is the major hockey sports media. They're at their cottages now. They're fishing.
Yeah.
You know, they're playing golf. So to like release the schedule and force them to come out of hibernation for the summer is, you know, I mean, that's a little bit of an ask for them as well.
Yeah, it is an ask. And, you know, what else can you do? This is where we're at. The league has not gotten the schedule ready in the usual timely fashion, and they'll have to deal with the fallout of that.
Yeah. So I think, you know, from a planning perspective for, you know, for people like us, it's maybe a little bit more intense in terms of figuring out our plans for the upcoming season based on the schedule and looking at when we're playing certain teams and when are the big road trips and when are the big home stands and all of that. I think that's something that's important for fans as well, and not just us, because, you know, again, it's not even just if you're attending, but it's like figuring out like what streaming packages am I going to need, because you want the broadcast information as well, right?
Yeah, you got to, and you know, it used to be you just got one package and you were all set. Not so fast. You know, there are blackouts and there are secondary things to consider, and just, you know, unfortunately, if you want to watch every game, you got to spend a lot of money these days because you need multiple packages. So, yeah, there are a lot of reasons why this is less than ideal, but it is where we're at right now.
Yeah. So hopefully by the time we are talking next Friday, we have the schedule and can start setting up our calendars.
Yeah. Now, if you're the NHL, and I'll just play devil's advocate here and make a counter argument. Here we are. By the time the schedule comes out, it'll be mid-July. Instead of everybody not thinking about hockey in mid-July, you'll have a day or two where this announcement is made, and the NHL, instead of everyone talking about fishing and cottages and the like, will actually talk about hockey for a day or two. So maybe that's a slight, you know, maybe that's a slight benefit to the NHL. I don't think it outweighs the negatives, but I'm throwing it out there.
Yeah, well, I don't know, man. I'm just frustrated by it, and luckily I have a show that I can talk about it
Right.
on
You
with
can
you.
air your grievances by the Festivus poll and just get it all out of your system.
So, all right. Well, I feel better already. And
Good.
again, hopefully next week we can talk about the schedule and or, some things about like who has the most back-to-backs and all of that
Yep.
stuff and air those grievances this time around. But we thought we'd end things on a much higher note and say, what hockey is there to watch over the summer? We're going to talk about the events you can take advantage of coming up next. All right, so summer hockey is underway and there's a few things going on. I think one of the more premier things, which is a little harder for us to watch in North America here, but you can stream it, it is my understanding, on Match TV, and that is the match of the year in the KHL over in Russia. And they take Russian hockey players with NHL experience and some of those all-star kind of level players, including Alex Ovechkin, facing up against KHL all-stars in an exhibition game. And it seems like it's going to be a ton of fun. Like I said, Alex Ovechkin is playing in it. Artemi Panarin is one of the other sponsors there, and you've got a whole bunch of other top players like Shesterkin is going to be in net for it, but it does seem like a good time.
Yeah, and hopefully you get a little rivalry going with the NHL guys and the KHL guys. They all know each other. They all grew up together, so it's a friendly rivalry. But you need your hockey fix in the summer. That's definitely one way to get it, and there's some great players involved in that game as well.
Yeah, so that game is on Sunday. Other players include Kirill Kaprizov, Svechnikov is playing, Andrei Vasilevsky is playing. So Sergei Bobrovsky should be over there. Andrei Kuzmenko, Pavel Buchnevich is in there. So it seems like it'll be a good lineup of Russian NHL stars in that one. The other summer hockey thing that's going on as we speak is the Beauty League up in Minnesota. And this is one of my favorite things about summer hockey, because not only are there some random NHLers, sprinkled in throughout these lineups, it's a good way for these guys to stay in shape. It's really like not super contact because nobody wants to get hurt. So it just makes it a lot of fun. And the rules are completely different. So they've got two halves, 23 minutes per half. It's 4-on-4 hockey. So there's a lot of open ice to deal with. Plus they have like these 2-minute windows where goals count double. And you can kind of pick when your double scoring period is going to be. But if the other team scores during that period, they also get double points. So it's, it just makes it fun and interesting. And the overtime gets wonky as well, with like, it starts 1-on-1 and then there's like, you add another player when somebody's, it's just like the rules are wild and different, and that's like makes it fun.
And I think it also is fun because the players are having fun. They're not taking it too seriously. Look, they're competitive by nature, but at the same time, they're having a good time. And if they're having a good time, we're having a good time. It's just kind of contagious. So I enjoy it. I always try to catch at least parts of a couple of games, if not a few games.
Right.
And it's just something to keep us tuned into hockey over July and throughout the summer.
Yeah, and I think, for some of the guys that play in it, especially the NHLers, it's, there's some AHLers in it too. It's just a way for the guys to keep their legs moving and keep it fresh over the summer without overdoing it.
Yep. Yeah.
And it's a good supplement to their summer workouts and their summer skill building, whatever it is that they're doing.
Yeah. And, it also would give some guys a chance to work out together, to practice a little bit. And skate,
Mm-hmm.
and be a little competitive without being cutthroat competitive during the off season. So I love it. I think it's a great institution, and I'm glad that it's back for another year.
Yeah, I wish they had them in more than one place, like something similar to that. Like they should franchise or something. And so it takes place in a couple of different places around North
Well,
America.
what you do is you get 4 locations, maybe, and then you have the champion of each location meet in a big finale.
Super tournament.
Tournament. But, I don't think they want it to be that big under the circumstances. So it would be great for the fans, but the players need a little break. I mean, seasons are long enough as it is.
Yeah, no, that is absolutely true. And the other thing about it is that, so there's 4 men's teams and 2 women's teams. And with the PWHL, we're going to talk a little bit more about this on the Saturday show with me and Erica on the Women's Hockey Report. But it's nice to have like women's teams there as well in the PWHL represented. So yeah, it is a good time, and it's good old Minnesota hockey, and you love to see that for sure. The other big event that takes place over the summer is the World Junior Summer Showcase, and that is sort of a preliminary tournament to help the United States, Canada, Sweden, and Finland specifically get a jump on figuring out who's going to be on their World Junior roster come December. And so I think it's a good sneak preview of that winter tournament, but we get to watch it over the summer.
Yeah. And, Team USA, for example, invited 42 players to their camp. The Islanders, for one, had 4, which I think is 4 more than they've had in the last 5 years. But, glad to see it. And it gives you an idea of, who some of the top players at that age level are, what we can expect come December. And, when you start putting together draft lists and prospect rankings, guys who get invited to this but don't make the actual team in December, you kind of put that in the back of your mind. And maybe 1 or 2 guys don't get invited to the showcase, but do end up on the team. And these are little things that when you start thinking about the draft and the prospect pool, you kind of have to measure these things.
Right. So as you mentioned, we do know who's on that list for Team USA and Team Sweden as well. And again, similarly for the Flyers, for instance, we got 2 guys on the list so far on Team USA, and we haven't had a USA guy in a hot second. So
there you go.
I'm excited to actually pay attention to Team USA again. Also have Jack Berglund on Team Sweden, who's going to try and make the cut on that roster. I don't know if he's going to make it, but certainly glad to see him on that preliminary roster as well. But again, it is just the 4 teams. It takes place between July 25th and August 2nd. So we have that to look forward to in a couple weeks. So I think there are ways to get through the summer when it comes to hockey and not having the regular NHL schedule around.
Yeah, there absolutely are. Get your hockey fix. And there's always, NHL Network will have old Stanley Cup clinching games and other things like that. If that's your thing, I'll always watch a couple of minutes of those every once in a while when I feel the need to watch some hockey. So yeah, there are choices out there. It's good to see. And just think about it, 20, 30 years ago, it was just nothing. So nice to have these options available.
Right. And I should mention that World Junior Summer Showcase is taking place in Minnesota as well. So guess Minnesota gets all the fun stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
State of hockey.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and it's going to be at the University of Minnesota, but there should be a way to stream that as well if you want. And it should be a lot of fun. And they do sort of a split squad for some of the earlier games. So all the people invited to the camp, you get to see at least once. So that's a good thing, before they cut down the rosters for the main part of the tournament. But That will do it for today's show. Thanks so much for listening. Gil, you will be back on Monday to talk to some hosts from around the Locked On NHL channel to see what's going on with their teams. Of course, we will be back next Friday to talk about the week that was in the NHL. We'll hopefully talk about some schedule stuff that we will look forward to getting next week. And in the meantime, have a great weekend, everybody.